Hello and welcome to the Pioneer Accounting Center, or PAC, training video series. My name is Jan. In this video, we will be covering expenses, paying an invoice. Let's start at the top of the example voucher you see on the screen. The voucher number is blank on the voucher form and is a convenience for you to use. We don't use it here in the office. The line below the voucher number asks for group, chapter, and unit information. If you have not already done so, please watch the PAC training video, Introduction to Website and Voucher Basics, which will show you how to gather the information you'll need to complete this line. Once you determine what information this line should contain, it will not change for your unit, whether you are completing a voucher for an expense, a deposit, an advance, or a transfer. Of course, if you prepare vouchers for more than one unit, please make sure that the unit name and unit number match and are correct for each unit that you're preparing the voucher for. This mostly pertains to chapter treasurers who can find the information they need on their monthly balance sheet report. For this example, we're paying an invoice, so we will check the expense box, and you can just click it. For the date, this is the actual invoice date. It is usually the billing date and could be different from the date the items were purchased or ordered. In the description area, please give a complete but concise description. Not too long, but not too short either. It should tell us what was purchased and what it was for. In this example, it is merchandise for store resale. This is where you would also include the invoice number. If you are paying more than one invoice, please list each invoice number and put its corresponding amount in the amount column. You could also include the account number or customer number or other identifiers as requested on the invoice. We will include as much of this information on the check stub as we can so that the other company can post the payment to the correct account. If it's necessary for your description to be quite long, please remember that it's okay to break your description onto 2 lines so the type doesn't get too small. For the taxable column, this is not used on expense vouchers, just deposit vouchers. Please watch the PAC training video on deposits for further information. The amount column, you will get the amount for this column from your invoice or invoices. Account code, refer to the account code glossary on the PAC page of the Pioneer's main website for a list of the account codes available, along with a description of each. Expense accounts usually start with the number 6. However, if candy, nuts, or other merchandise is purchased to resell, whether in a store or, say, from an office desk, you would use account code 1945 inventory, as you see here. If you are paying someone their percentage share for an item that they allowed you to sell on consignment, such as in a Pioneer store, you would also use account code 1945 inventory for their voucher. For the state column, this is the state where the purchase was made. If something was ordered online, please use the state the item was shipped to. The project ID, again, please refer to the project ID list on the PAC page of the Pioneer's main website for a list of available project IDs along with descriptions and examples. The internal use column, this is for PAC use in tracking additional data that we need to use here in-house. This column replaced the old 990 column, which is no longer used, so you wouldn't put anything in here. Down here for the total, this is the total of all the invoices that you have listed and their amounts. If you're completing the voucher electronically, it will total the amounts for you. Let's go to the payee information section. Payee information must be on the voucher anytime a check is needed. Please make sure the address is correct, including a suite number or apartment number. Checks have been delayed or returned to our office because the post office could not deliver them because of incorrect or incomplete addresses. Let's go over here to the approvals section. And the submitted by, this is the person submitting the voucher for approval. It is usually the same person who prepares the voucher, in a lot of cases the unit treasurer, but not necessarily the person who received the invoice. In the submitted date, you would complete that for the date that you sent it on to the approver. The approved by portion, this should be a different person than the submitter. It's an extra pair of eyes to make sure that everything is correct. Some things to keep in mind about approvers for invoice vouchers. Generally allowed approvers are the unit president, immediate past president, and vice president, as well as others allowed by the unit's executive board. Especially if the unit is small, it could be the treasurer or a member at large. Please remember that a payee cannot approve their own voucher. Now in this case it's going to a company, so that doesn't pertain. It's not usually an issue when paying from an invoice, but if an individual has a business and they provide a service to the pioneers, that person cannot approve their own voucher. And so the same applies for family. Family of payee cannot sign or approve, and this would include any spouses, partners, parents, children, siblings, etc. of the payee. An electronic signature is okay, and email approval is okay, as you see in this example. And for that, you would typically put in the body of your email when you're sending it to your PAC associate, you would say something like, I approve the attached voucher to Greatest Gifts in the amount of $5,280. No photocopied signatures, those aren't allowed. There should not be signed blank vouchers running around that are filled in later. The voucher should be completed so that the approver can look everything over before signing it. If the amount is over $5,000, like you see here, your PAC associate will forward the voucher and the invoice and all the other supporting documentation to your group board member on the international board for additional approval. It still will need your unit approval, but it will also need an approval because of that amount. This may take a little extra time. So the approver is vouching for or making sure that the coding, invoices, and totals are complete and correct. It should be the last person to look it over and then send the voucher to the PAC associate. And then they would enter the date that they sent it on to the PAC associate. This part over here for PAC use only, that's you can just leave that blank. We use this section when we are processing your voucher. So you would include all the invoices related to the voucher along with your voucher. Make sure those invoices are complete and not cut off. It should show the name of the store, restaurant, or business, the date, the invoice number or guest ticket number for restaurants, a customer number or other identifier if available, itemized purchases or services, and a total. Please avoid phone pictures. They get distorted and come across as unreadable. Please submit everything within 30 days. An invoice should show the due date, and you may get a discount for paying early. That should show on your invoice as well if that's the case. The exception to this 30-day submission guideline is at year end. Your paperwork must be received by our cutoff date in early January, so that would be sooner than the 30 days. Please keep in mind that your PAC associate may ask for a W-9 form to be completed by the company and returned to the PAC office before a check can be issued. Thank you for watching this video on expenses, paying an invoice. If you have any questions, please contact your PAC associate.